Hello and welcome to U-Report. This is that one show that gives Ugandan youth a platform to have candid conversations, open conversations about issues that are affecting their communities, their lifestyles, their well-being. My name is Marcus.
My name is Melissa.
Now, on the show tonight, we talk about a very, very hot topic.
Female genital mutilation.
You know, when we conducted a poll on this issue about female genital mutilation, things got very, very interesting. In that 1 week alone, we had over 60,000 U-reporters send us their sentiments, their thoughts, their concerns about this issue.
Yeah, 60,000 is so many. In fact, it is the most we have heard from our U-reporters. We haven't heard that many
on an issue.
Yes, exactly.
And tonight on this show, we talk about female genital mutilation. Let's go to the field and hear from our U-reporters on this matter.
Female circumcision is practiced in eastern Uganda and those other parts of Kenya, neighboring Uganda, and within the Sabines, both in Uganda and Kenya. And I believe female genital circumcision is not good because it results into death, overbleeding of women, and I think when it also gives them a hard time when it comes to childbirth. So that is why I believe female circumcision is not good practice at all.
Female genital mutilation, which is done especially by those people in Sepei, that is eastern Uganda, should be put an end because it denies girls to enjoy sex in the future, since their erotic zones are killed.
FGM, I see it as something, of course, which is not good. It is against maybe God's creation.
I, Olive from Chenjojo, I suggest that female circumcision should be banned, and those people who are practicing it should stop and should be arrested.
Every day, about 1,000 children are newly infected with HIV. Most of them are born in sub-Saharan Africa. In order to reach an AIDS-free generation, we must get to 0 new HIV infections. How do we get to 0? Test mothers and babies and give them the medicines they need. Treat and counsel those living with HIV and also focus on prevention. Let's get to 0.
Welcome back to U-Report. Today we are talking about female genital mutilation, and we heard some comments from our U-Reporters, and we have some comments right here. Most U-Reporters say the law is more important than culture on this issue, even in regions where FGM is practiced. Even those U-Reporters that say culture is more important say that in this case, where FGM is concerned, that it is just not acceptable. It cannot happen. I find that very interesting that people are willing to do that, that difference.
And on the show today, we have 3 guests, experts in this field, who will help us understand FGM in regard to the law, because now this practice is actually illegal.
Yeah.
So we talk about that on the show today. If you would like to become a U-reporter, it's very simple. All you need to do is go to your mobile phone, go to your messages, type the word join and send that to 8500. It's absolutely free. Better still, if you have access to the internet, go to www.U-reportUG, take part in a poll, get involved in the conversation. And now we go and hear some more from our U-reporters on the issue of female genital mutilation. We'll be back after this.
I think the best way to put a stop to female genital mutilation is carrying out sensitization in the districts that do that, or in the cultures that do that. First, we need to help them appreciate their culture, because that's the most important thing. Tell them their culture is good and their culture is very important. However, it has certain things that are not good for the human health, or that are not good for the children.
It's not that I'm going against culture, but some culture norms, as we do all agree, they're not right. They just they need to be removed, like female genital mutilation. I don't think it's a good practice that needs to be going on, because it's a very, very, very nasty experience if if you really get to know what it is, like sometime back on NTV, there was this show that was going on that was showing this old lady who was taking part in the mutilation, and then she left. She was narrating the ordeal of how they do it, and so actually she was showing the instruments they use, and you don't want to be shown those instruments. I mean, you could imagine this girl who is being mutilated with this instrument that has been used over many people, so you kind of link this instrument to HIV and all the pain, all the trauma she's going to go around with. And you imagine, okay, she's going to stay in school, but what about when she gets married? What's going to happen when she gets married? She's going to go through this ordeal of being with a husband.
I think the alternative to FGM should be teaching the ladies as it was done in the African traditional society. For example, in the Uganda society, they used to prepare young ladies to be grown-ups in a way that they used to teach them how to cook food, how to respect their husbands, how to respect their marriages, not to practice polygamy.
In my opinion, I think FGM should be stopped because it's so painful. That is what because I've watched movies and I know what they go through. Most of them don't even live for long because they have trauma, and then when you bleed so much, there is HIV. So let them just get some other culture, something they can do to like initiate the girls to being ladies instead of that.
My name is Omara Daniel. I'm 18 years old. The people, when they see the lame person, they think it got nothing to do. You see me today sitting on a wheelchair, but I'm schooling also. I do like basketball. Playing basketball makes me feel happy with my friends. The disabled people, don't sit down and think you are lame, you can't do anything. You can make the world shine.
Welcome back to Your Report. My name is Marcus, and if you just joined us, in the studio with us today are three very interesting ladies, and we are talking about female genital mutilation. So I'm going to ask our first guest to my immediate left to introduce herself. Kindly tell us your name and a little something about yourself.
I'm called Maria Jura. I'm a lawyer working with Law and Advocacy for Women in Uganda.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
My name is Beatrice Chelangat. I'm the Director General of the REACH program. REACH program is one of the main NGOs spearheading abandonment of FGM in Uganda, and it has been in operation for the last 17 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
17 years.
Yes.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
I am Aida Chigonya. I work with the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development.
Welcome, Aida.
Okay, welcome. So, ladies, since today we're talking about female genital mutilation, I feel like it's a topic that has been talked about a lot, 17 years, right?
Yes.
Now, what is it and why is it practiced? I mean, if you've been working 17 years, we've been talking about it for a long time. Why is it still being practiced?
I think the first question is, what is female genital mutilation? It is actually the mutilation of the female genitalia. In simple English, cutting off the most valuable parts of a female genitalia, which involves the clitoris, the labias, and it is in 3 types. Type 1 is where they only cut off the clitoris. Then type 2 is where they cut off the clitoris and the labias. Then type 3, you go further. After cutting off the clitoris and the labias, you sew it together.
What is the history of the practice? Where did it come from?
Nobody knows the origin of female genital mutilation. We've carried out research among the practicing communities. We've read books. We've consulted in international and national conferences, but nobody knows the origin.
There's no one who can say it.
Yeah, apart from myth, among the Sabine community where I come from, I'm a Sabine, it is believed that at one time, one Sabine girl got sick and grew thin and grew thin. And because the Sabine are pastoralists and, they keep animals, one of the medicine men recommended that if this girl was a cow, would allow some blood letting from around the neck side. Okay. Yeah, so given that she's a human being, he thought of the clitoris as one of the places where there is a high circulation of blood. And it is believed that that's how the Sabine adopted the practice of female genital mutilation. And it
bloodletting
originally. Yeah, for the healing of this girl who had got sick for so long. And surprisingly, the girl came back to normal. Then, the other belief is that it was carried down from Egypt, yeah, where the pharaoh had so many wives and moving around 500 women, and you know, in a year we have 365 days. That means so that a woman would stay without reaching the king for more than a year. Yes. So they recommended that maybe let's do the type 3. We close it up until when the king is on the way coming to wife number 8. Then the reopening would be done.
All of these are stories. There's no proof, or is that?
Yeah, there is no proof. But as a Bible scholar, I've read the Bible, and somewhere in the book of Genesis or Exodus, there is where the Egyptian women were asked to deliver the Israelite women, and the Egyptian midwives had a challenge because they said and reported to their rulers that, you know, the Jewish women are like animals, so they deliver so fast. So by the time the Egyptian midwives reached there, the Jewish women had already delivered, implying that the Jewish women were natural.
So there was a difference.
That means that the Egyptians by then already practiced female genital mutilation.
Oh. When we get back, we talk more about female genital mutilation, and interesting news, there's a law. So we want to find out more. Remember, you too can be a U-reporter. We'll tell you how when we come back.
Welcome back to U-Report. I'm Melissa, and today we are talking about female genital mutilation, and we have 3 lovely guests talking to us about this. Now, before we even get into the legal aspect of it, I wanted to ask, there's 3 types, right, or 4, but that's kind of a miscellaneous category. But within those 3 types, where are they practiced, and what are the sensitization tools that then have to be done depending on the category of the mutilation?
Yeah, there's a beings who are a bit sensitized are practicing type 1, which involves the cutting of the clitoris alone. Then the moderate Sabine community practice type 2. Then the Pokot, the Tepeth, and the Kadama, settled in the Karamoja region, are practicing type 3. And let me do a little explanation about the type 3 because it is not what is documented by WHO. What the international community know about type 3 is that the clitoris is cut off and the labias, and then it is sewed to come back together. But among the Pokot, Tepeth, and the Kadama, it is not sewed. It is the girl is allowed to make the wound heal in such a way that side A and side B of the genitalia gets back together.
Fuses together.
Yes. And at the end of it, the mentors who take care of these girls allow only a small opening to allow urine and menstrual flow until when they get married is when at times the hole can be too small, and the old women, we may need to enlarge it using goat horn. And later on, when time reaches to deliver, that's when, like the wound reoccurs because it has to end like to allow the baby come out, which now makes FGM a reproductive health problem.
Yes.
So now, coming to the legal aspect, how old is the law on female genital mutilation, and how does that work with a centuries-old tradition? Isn't there conflict from the word go?
The law, I'll start with our constitution. It allows good culture, but it goes on further to create an exception. Any culture that infringes on the right, humanity, and dignity of a person is unconstitutional. So when all this research has been done that FGM is actually more harmful, it is declared unconstitutional under our constitution.
But now, wouldn't it be, or at least so I've heard, that you criminalize something, it just becomes underground. So there are still ceremonies being done where women are being cut or sewed together, but it's not talked about because, of course, they're worried about the criminalization aspect.
Is that, how does the government then make sure that the law is monitored and implemented and not done in an underground?
Yes. Yeah, the government has come up with regulations. And these regulations are going to guide the people who are supposed to enforce the law, such that they ensure, like the prosecutors, like the police officers, like the health workers, to ensure that the FGM is actually not practiced. And even as far as policy is concerned, there are also policy guidelines to the people who are not really on the law, but to the mobilizers, to know who is doing this thing underground. So we've already also developed the policy guidelines. The law is still young. It was 2010. 2010 law. Wow. Okay. So we still have a lot to do, and there is a challenge. Sensitization is ongoing, and materials have been developed. But as you are saying, it is an attitude problem. It is a culture that takes long, and we have to dialogue. So we are going through community dialogue, to dialogue with them, to let them tell us what is it that can be done, such that people come to appreciate that female genital mutilation is harmful.
So this is not two forces colliding. It is how do we work together to come up with a new... Now,
and we will talk about that when we come back.
Exactly.
Please SMS join to 8500 to become a part of this conversation and tell us what you're thinking, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you. Welcome back. You're watching U-Report. My name is Melissa, and today we have been talking about female genital mutilation and having a deep discussion about it. Before we went to the break, Marcus had a question about government initiatives. So Marcus, will you follow up with that?
Yeah, just to echo that question again, we do have one of our text messages that came in from Mafabi Felix in Kapchora, and actually his is more of a comment. He said, the law is important because it protects one from such dangers associated with female genital mutilation. And so that ties into the question I asked earlier. Where do young people run to, or what initiatives does the government have in place to help young people who are running from the practice?
Yes.
Well, government is working along with their partners, its partners, who are in those practicing districts like Amudat, Nakeperipirit, and Moroto de Tepeth, and then in Tabini region. They are the NGOs who have the, what would I call them? Those centers where they can keep the girls.
So there are actually community centers where girls can seek refuge.
But they are being run by the NGOs.
In partnership with the government?
Yes, in partnership with government. So government is also being supported by the UN joint program, where it is giving funding to the Karamoja region and to the Sabini region, and also to the NGOs working in the practicing districts. UNICEF is also coming in with the UNFPA to assist in this cause. So maybe my colleague can elaborate further.
Yeah, it is true that government has done and has continued to do a lot. I remember the campaign in Uganda began from a law or a resolution which was passed by Kapchorwa local government in 1988, making FGM mandatory.
Mandatory?
Yes, making it compulsory for every woman and every girl in Sabine community to undergo FGM.
Wow.
And this caused hard situation for girls and women who had not undergone FGM.
Yes.
And that was a time when the former minister, Jane Francis Coker, was the head of a primary teachers college. So they had to run to Kampala for refuge. They went to the Minister of Gender. And the president was told what was happening in Kapchorwa, and immediately a chopper was sent to Kapchorwa to meet the Sabini representative of the council then. So they were educated on the harm that FGM does. For some of you who do not know what FGM is and what it does, first of all, the female genitalia is highly supplied with blood. The clitoris is highly supplied with blood, and when that area is cut, there is overbleeding. And this FGM is done in the public, so privacy becomes a problem.
It's a public. It's a public thing.
Yes, you lie down in the open with your legs apart, and an old woman in the name of a FGM practitioner comes, cuts off.
So when you say cut, what do they use? Are they surgical tools?
They use a traditional knife and also a razor blade of lead.
So now that also brings in
HIV.
HIV.
Yes. Yeah, and then with the time, the scar formation becomes a problem during delivery. Yeah, and some women or girls suffer tetanus due to poor handling. And truly, the harm that FGM does is beyond what one can speak.
So let's move to the legal address for this. What does the law say? Now, when we have a law, does it make it illegal or just gives guidelines? And if somebody is on the wrong end of this law, what are the consequences?
FGM is illegal under the FGM Act. And if you're found cutting part of a genitalia or all the genitalia, the punishment is 10 years. And if it's found that you've done it on a child or...
Wait a second. It is practiced on children?
Yes.
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 How old?
Young girls.
It is between 9 and 18. And FGM was meant to preserve the virginity of the girl. Yes. And that's why when a girl undergoes FGM, no matter the age, she qualifies to get married or to engage in sexual acts.
So children then are married off?
Yes.
So let's go back quickly to those. So if it's on a child?
If it's on a child, or if the victim dies, or if it's done by a parent, or it's done by a person in authority, let's say a military person, that's the maximum punishment, which is life imprisonment, if it's found that any of these instances happen. So that is what we call aggravated FGM.
Has anyone been convicted on that charge in Uganda?
Are there any stories of people being...
We have so far only 2 cases, because it's a new law. It just came out in 2010. One where they got 3 months imprisonment. These were 2 young girls, 13 and 14. They were charged with carrying out on themselves.
Oh, so I can actually be charged for doing it to myself?
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did they say in defense in terms of the court case?
Why they did it? What reason
Was it a
did they
cultural
give?
practice? They wanted to do it because it's good?
They admitted, they said they did it on themselves because they wanted to become women.
Okay.
Because they say if we do it, we'll become women.
So, which brings us back to what you said, it's a mindset attitude.
It is a mindset.
So now, in terms of, because it's still a new law and the whole sensitization will be going on 17 years, how do young people, what is the position young people take on this? How do you encourage young people to address this? Do they speak about it in open? Are there forums they can attend? Is there information available to them?
What is the way forward?
What is the way forward in this area? You've been working in 17 years, so what are some of the initiatives in place now?
The young people are very important in the FGM abandonment. That's why we involve them in the campaigns, in the talk shows in the region. And it is not only the young people. We have the parents, the mothers, and the fathers. They have also joined the campaign against female genital mutilation. We have the elders, more specifically the Sabini Elders Association, who won the UN award in 1998 for spearheading the
The
campaign against female genital mutilation. So we are now reaching everybody. We are reaching the primary school children. We are reaching the secondary school children. We are reaching those ones in tertiary institutions. Last evening I was in the university here in Makerere, reaching the Sabine community and asking the university students to get involved through the media, and while on VAC,
when they go back home for holidays,
reach out to the community down there.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Now, remember, you too can be a U-reporter. If you see anything in your community that you believe needs to be addressed, send a text message to 8500. And what you do send is the word join. You then become a U-reporter. What you see, what you observe, and what you report can change the destiny of your country. Your voice matters. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks for watching. On behalf of the crew on U-Report, we'll see you next week.